Welcome back to the Midday Show. My guest sitting in the chair to kick off the show, we've got Mark Bertoli joining us from Abbott Wealth Management. And things are topsy-turvy, honestly, in the money world, to say the least. And we go to people like you to try and explain it all to us. And you, of course, go to other experts as well. And you were just involved in something that was pretty big. Yeah, well, interestingly, I meet once a year at least with Philip Peterman. He is an economist, so to speak, for Manulife Investments, and another gentleman, Cam Bayford. Cam brings 40 years experience, and he's the regional vice president for Manulife here, and involved, I would say, helping create wealth for a lot of people in this area. He's has great experience. But yesterday we talked about the economy, what we see coming for 2015. So today, as we were talking about earlier, we're going to talk about 2 hours worth of economic data in 2 minutes. See, this is perfect for me. This is what I like.
Cole's Notes.
Cole's Notes of economics.
So I kind of, as we were going through this yesterday, picked out some things that I thought would be interesting. And one of the things, we talked a couple weeks ago, we did Scottsdale from 30,000 feet, and I explained how I thought the economy was really going. Well, statistically right now, there's more Americans working right now than there ever has been in history.
Wow.
So that's a very good thing for the economy. Yeah. Interesting about U.S. debt and Canadian household debt. The U.S. household debt peaked at 160% debt to income. Canadians are currently at 167%.
Wow.
So, and the Americans have gone down from there. So our investment bias is going to be a little bit towards the U.S. side of things. Their economy is really doing well. Canada, I want to switch over to Canada now. Downplay in oil prices. Oil has an effect of about 2 to 3% on our gross domestic product, where housing has about an 8% effect on the output of our nation, so to speak. Now, there's a lot of spin-off of oil, and housing's one of them. So we have the Canadian dollar dropping. Fed lowered the interest rates a couple weeks ago. So what does that mean? Oil dropping. So Calgary, for instance, month over month was a 35% decline in sales due to oil, and a 40% increase in listings. So that's a definite oil-based economy. Then we go over to Toronto. And Toronto was a manufacturing economy. Very interesting thing there. Toronto actually had a 6.1% increase in sales in the last month recorded, and their prices also went up about 4.9%. So where Toronto's manufacturing benefits from the lower dollar, and Calgary is very linked to the oil. So so it
changes across Canada, basically.
It does, yeah. So oil or housing is a big factor in our gross domestic product, and we got to really watch that doesn't become too affected with oil. That's a big thing. So some other different things about oil that people might find interesting, because it's the topic of the day.
It certainly is.
There's Saudi Arabia. I'm going to talk about Venezuela, Russia, and the U.S. a little bit. Saudi Arabia is sitting on a reserve of $750 billion.
Wow.
So they can play this game for a long time.
Right.
Some interesting statistics we studied yesterday, though. It cost Saudi Arabia $15 to get a barrel of oil out of the ground. However, their cost of production or cost overall is over $100. They spend $30 a barrel on security. That's why you never hear of any security issues in Saudi Arabia with respect to oil. The other are social programs, keeping their youth, employment, education, free education, things like that. So some other things, Venezuela, you only pay about 5 cents a liter for gas at the pump.
What?
Wouldn't that be nice?
That's ridiculous.
But they need $90 oil to fund their social programs. Okay, so then we switched over to Russia, because we're talking about the effect on these other economies. Russia is, right now, they're producing more oil than the Soviet Union ever did. So after the separation of the Soviet Union, production went down, things became scattered, but they're back in production. 70% of the budget of the federal government of Russia is oil revenue. So they really need this
They
price
count
to
on
be
it.
stabilizing. And then U.S. shale. This is the fracking play in the United States. Very interestingly, they've done an analysis, and a lot of the funding behind those projects are more speculative money. So very much like the technology issues, this low price may drive people out of that, and you may not see them come back into that speculative area, just like a lot of people went out of technology in 2000 and really didn't go back into it.
never went back.
So there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's a changing
and
world.
a lot of moving parts there. So we also had a question this week, I think.
Yes, we did.
That came in. It's very relevant too.
Yes.
So the question, RSPs or tax-free savings account, what should I do?
It's a good question.
I hate when people are indecisive in their answers. So here's my answer.
Okay.
It depends.
Oh, that's not indecisive at all.
But it is a good answer, because it really has a lot to do with what your income looks like when you retire. One of the huge advantages of an RSP is putting money away now when you're in a higher tax bracket, and then removing it from the RSP once you retire and your tax bracket drops. You also get tax sheltered growth in that period. So if, for instance, you are own other businesses or have other sources of income where your income doesn't change, you have to look very carefully at the RSP contribution. One of the great ones that you could do, though, as a general, is make your RSP contribution. When you get your tax return, put it into your tax-free savings account.
Take both.
There you go.
I like it. I was planning on shopping with that money, but whatever. Okay, Mark, thank you so much for joining us today
You're
here
welcome.
on Midday. We'll be back in just a moment.